and welcome to new semester. Now you are seniors. Again, I am handling one subject for you, and this time I am handling web technology and its applications. And subject code is 17CS71. One of the easy subject and very scoring subject. Okay, the syllabus for this subject, web technology and its application is see there are 5 modules that all of you know. In first module, we are going to study introduction to HTML and introduction to CSS. In second module, we are going to study HTML tables, forms, and advanced CSS. Okay, in third module, we are going to study JavaScript with the introduction to server-side development with PHP. In module 4, entirely of PHP. Then in module 5, different technology, how to create a URL, cookies, serialization status, managing states using Ajax, MVC, XML, and JSON. All those technologies we are going to study in module 5. Okay. So the textbook specified, mentioned by your VTU is by Randy Connolly and Ricardo Hoare. Textbook title is Fundamentals of Web Development, first edition by Pearson Education. The publishers are Pearson Education India. Okay, so actually the textbook that is available in your library with this front page, with this front cover. Okay, Fundamentals of Web Development. This textbook is available at the library. Okay, we have a soft copy for it, and the soft copy is this one, Fundamental of Web Development. Actually, this is a global edition. Okay, there is no difference in global edition and Indian edition. Okay, we'll start studying this first module of this subject, and the first module comprises of 2 chapters, introduction to HTML and introduction to CSS. So let's start with the chapter 1, introduction to HTML. In this chapter we are going to study the origin of HTML, where did it come from, what is HTML, and syntaxes of HTML, semantics of HTML, then versions of HTML, how it has affected the browsers and all. Okay, so let's start with first slide. What is HTML and where did it come from? HTML is not a programming language, it's a markup language. Okay, it's a markup language. Then the question arises, what is a markup language? A markup language is simply a way of annotating document. Entire document you are annotating in such a way that make annotation distinct from the text being annotated, and here these annotations are distinct from text being annotated. What do you mean by annotation and markup? So actually, suppose you are submitting a project report. At that time, we are pointing you that this should be the chapter name, this should be the chapter number, and this should be bold, and this should be with a bigger size, right? And the paragraph should be of 12 size. Then this should be listing, it should be in bullets or in numbers, right? So then we are assigning you that this is the main chapter name, then this is the sub chapter name, subtopic name, right? So these things are called annotation. Markup, in markup also we are specifying what will be the heading, what will be the listing, what will be in bullet, what will be in numbers. Okay, all those things. When you were kids, you were writing a paragraph, at that time your teacher is marking up that this is wrong. See here, robot, he's written robot. No, the spelling is wrong. Okay, the color, the blue spelling is wrong. This is called annotating. This is up to some grade 3 standards. Okay, for us this HTML markup language is for distinction between a text. Okay, so see, what is a markup language? A markup language is simply a way of annotating a document in such a way as to make the annotation distinct from text being annotated. So one text you are making a distinction to another text, and what should be what, you are actually what should be what here in the document. Okay, so addition to that, see, in addition to specifying information about the content, you are able to give information how the content will be displayed to the end user. Means it will be bold, it will be strong, or it will be at the center, or color will be different. Okay, so that is called styling. So actually nowadays we are not including this information, how the content will be displayed on the screen. We are maintaining two separate files for that. One is HTML for markups and another is called CSS for designing and all. Okay, so where did HTML came from? So actually it was the first public specification of HTML was announced by this Tim Berners-Lee. Actually he is a developer of HTML. Okay, Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. So this HTML has ambiguous standards. So to make a platform or a plan that runs according to some rules, what this World Wide Web Consortium has codified this HTML after its specification publicly announced. Okay, so so where did it come from? Actually, there is a long history that there is a rivalry or the competition between Netscape Navigator, Internet Explorer, blah 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 things. Okay, first public specification of HTML was presented by Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. At that time, this HTML doesn't have standard rules or standard specifications and all. So what these guys, not guys, companies or universities from World Wide Web Consortium, short form is W3C, has codified this HTML in 1997 to bring this HTML to a common plan or a common rules. Okay, so then in late 1990s, W3 turned its attention to late 1990s to a new specification called Hex HTML 1.0, which was a version of HTML that used strict XML syntax rules. Now the question arises, instead of coming with a new version of HTML, why they have a new specification called XHTML 1.0? See, specification means actually what should be what. Okay, this is what specification. You should have a system of 6 GB RAM. From where you are purchasing this 6 GB RAM, we don't know. Who will be the manufacturer of 6 GB RAM? You should have a 6 GB RAM. Okay, this is what the specifications. Okay, so in late 1990s they had a new specification. Before that they had HTML. Now they have released the XHTML specifications with a version 1.0, which was version of HTML that used stricter XML syntax. Why stricter? The question arises, why stricter XML? Because at that time some web browsers are allowing markup error, syntax errors, markup malfunctioning and all. Some browsers are very lenient in that cases and they are displaying the output, and there is no guarantee that if this browser, one browser, XYZ browser, is ignoring these many tags or these many errors and displaying the page like this, and there is no guarantee that the same look and feel or the same content will be displayed on another browser. Okay, so the browser to browser, the leniency were different. So if this is the case, at that time the developer will not be able to target the audience, right? So to standardize the HTML, they have released stricter specifications using XHTML 1.0. What was the goal of releasing XHTML? See, the goal of XHTML with its strict rules was to make page rendering more predictable by forcing web authors to create a web page without syntax errors. If suppose if a browser allows syntax error, at that time we will not concentrate on syntax errors, right? We will do errors. Sometimes those errors will have a heap of errors and the output will not be as expected. So they have released a stricter specifications, and those are HTML 1.0. They have incorporated the rules of XML. The rules were, there must be a single root element, like you have a HTML tag. We will see what this single root element is. Then from that single root element, all the sub elements will be extracted. Element names are sub elements. Element names are composed of valid characters most punctuation symbols and spaces are not allowed in XML, then element names cannot start with a number, elements and attribute names are case sensitive, then attributes must always be within quotes, all elements must have a closing element or be closing itself. Okay, these were the rules followed by XHTML. But during these 2000s, during the 2000 era, the focus on the professional web development community was on standards, that is on limiting oneself to W3 specification for XHTML. See, if we don't have standards, let's take an example of cloth. Okay, if we don't have a standard of 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter, then one shopkeeper can give you 1 meter means 10 centimeter cloth in length. Okay, another shopkeeper will give you 200 centimeter in length. Okay, if the standards were not defined. Okay, so to standardize these rules during 2000s, see these W3C, what is it? World Wide Web Consortium, okay, has again released a specification for XHTML, and this time the key part of the standard movement in the web development community of 2000 was to use HTML validators. Why? The stricter one, so that all the developers, all the authors should come to one common platform, one common standards. They should follow one standards. Okay, if they don't follow standards or create any one of the web page without or violating the rules of XHTML, at that time this HTML validator websites will catch them. So what you need to do in 2000s, that you need to create a website and you need to validate your website on HTML validators sites. Okay, some of the validators provided by some third-party vendors, and some HTML validators are also provided by W3C. Okay, so first what you need to do is you need to create a website, then you need to validate your website on some HTML validators, then only you can publish it. The most important was that backward compatibility. So this was the restriction at that time. Then another restriction was, the most important was that the backward compatibility with HTML and XHTML 1.0 was dropped. So to make it stricter and stricter, what they have done is they have dropped the backward compatibility of HTML and XHTML. Backward compatibility, if new version is released, so there is no backward compatibility for previous versions. Okay, so this means the code which is in the previous version need to be updated to new version to display on the browser or to the world. Okay, so this will create a conflict among many web browser vendors and developers. See, gradually discomfort on the part of the browser manufacturers and the web development community at large, who were faced with making substantial changes to existing web page. What I have told you, if a new version is released, so if your page is in older version, so you need to make changes in your older version to match to the newer version, because there is no backward compatibility. So there was a discomfort among many web browser manufacturers, because browser manufacturers were confused that what we need to display, the latest version, because of these W3 standards, the previous versions. There are many vendors, so many manufacturers or many website companies are actually writing these web pages on previous versions. They need to change it again. So there is a discomfort in between browser manufacturers and website owners. So at around the same time when the XHTML 2.0 specification was being developed, so again this W3, they are developing stricter specification. A group of developers at Opera and Mozilla formed a WHAT-WG, that is Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group, a group within W3C. What this group was not satisfied, this WHAT-WG, they formed this group at Mozilla and Opera. They were not specified with the previous rules, these rules. They were not satisfied. So what they have done is, they have created this HTML5, and there are the three main aims of HTML. First one, specify unambiguous how browser should deal with the invalid markup. There should be a one way for all the browsers how these browsers will deal with this invalid markups. See, if a markup is invalid, then one browser should display the same message, and otherwise other browser should display the same message. Okay, so if one browser is displaying one error message, another browser is displaying another error message, So there will be a ambiguity. If it is if there is ambiguity, the standards are not followed or the programmer will get confused. So that's why the first aim of HTML5 was specify unambiguously how browser should deal with the invalid markup. Then provide an open non-proprietary programming framework via JavaScript for creating rich web applications. Via JavaScript, you can create a programming web application which is open and non-proprietary. It is not the property of any persons. Okay, so you need to create this web application which will run on the browser, all the browsers. Then the last one, the discomfort that they were facing was be backward compatible with existing web. So what W3C has done, they have accepted these main aims from HTML5 and they released HTML5 in the market. Okay, in in 2006 and around 7. Okay, they have released this HTML5. So what is this? The problem during HTML5, not all browsers will support this HTML5. Nowadays, all browsers support HTML5. Okay, so differences between HTML and HTML5 we will study in upcoming slides. Okay, so we'll see first a HTML syntax. See, HTML syntax contains two elements, two main elements, that is elements and attributes. Elements and attribute. So here tag name is called a element name. Tag name, suppose this is A, actually it is for a link. A tag is for link. A means anchor. So the element name is A, and in this we have an attribute, href attribute, and the value for that href attribute is mentioned in double quotes, that the link will be http://www.centralpark.com, and the content that element includes, this content that element include is Central Park. It will be defined by user. So these are the tags defined by HTML. The syntax is what? The tag name, then any attributes if you have with the attribute value. Okay, so this entire thing is called opening tag, then the content of that tag, then closing tag. This opening tag and closing tag, just the difference is it will have a front slash. Okay, so another example we'll see image tag. Here in this image tag, then the source file where your image is, then the closing of that image tag. And see, some tags are open, then it will have a content, then it will have a closing tag, but image tag doesn't have any content, is directly within the opening tag, it will close itself. So this is what element name img. Okay, then some attribute, then we have trailing slash, so this indicates that this tag closes itself. Okay, this is called self-closing tags. Okay, so an HTML document are composed of textual content and HTML element, textual contents, okay, and a HTML element. So this entire thing is called HTML element. Okay, an HTML element is more expansive terms that encompasses the element name within an angle braces. So this encompasses actually the element name with attributes, okay, and the content within the tags. Okay, that many of you know what these HTML tags are. Now nesting HTML elements. So you have seen two elements here. One is an anchor tag, another one is image tag. So these tags can be nested under one another tag. Okay, so here an HTML element will contain another HTML element. In such a case, the container element is said to be the parent of the contained or child element. See here, we have a tag called body. Then this body contains or nesting another tag called paragraph P. So here body becomes a parent and P becomes a child. Okay, if you have another nesting element, see in this paragraph we have strong tag and it is under P. For the strong, P becomes parent, and for the strong, the body becomes ancestor. For body, this paragraph tag P is a child, and for body, this strong is a descendant. Okay, descendant. So for body, the descendants are, or the childrens are, we can say T children or descendants, paragraph tag, strong, h1 div, again p, see again span. Understood? So see here body tag, then we have children's. For this body are paragraph tag p, h1 tag, then div tag, three children's. So p1 h1 div. Then descendants are strong. For strong will be the child of p, see strong will be the child of p. Then for h1 we don't have any child. For div we have a child p. Then for p again we have a child span, see p then span. Okay, so span tag. So paragraph tag is for paragraph, strong is for strong text, means bold text. Then h1 is for bigger headings, then division for making a division in the page. Okay, then we have a span tag for span tag for specifying the style of that text. Then paragraph ends, division ends, body ends. See, body will be the root for all these childrens. Okay, so actually there is a concept of descendants and ancestors. For span, ancestor will be p, div and body. For the strong, ancestors will be p and body. For h1, the ancestor or the parent will be body. Okay, this is how this nesting of HTML element follows. And any elements contained within the child are said to be descendants, that I have already explained you, of the parent elements. Likewise, any given child element may have a variety of ancestors. So if you suppose if you have this strong tag, so strong tag will have ancestors p and body, not h1. Okay, p and body. P is for paragraph. Okay, so I will stop here. In next video we are going to study semantic markups and rest of the topics. Okay, thank you for watching this video.